So, hey, Don Copeland here, and today we're going to do a comparison to kind of maybe help you make the right decision when you're looking at DTF. Hopefully you've looked at the other videos we've done about screen printing against DTF, and vinyl against DTF, and DTG against DTF. I mean, just about everything against DTF. So it sounds like maybe you've made a decision at this point to think that maybe DTF is the way I need to go. So now, which DTF do I go with, right? So we've got sitting here two of our models, our two Digital Heat FX, the DTF models. We have the H2 and the H4. Both of these are 24-inch wide medias, so you're not giving up anything there. Both of them use the same basic concept. Going to print onto a PET film with a printer with inks that are very similar to the inks like for DTG. They're a digital pigmented ink that like we've been using for DTG for years. They're both going to put down a powder right onto the back of the print, just like you would do for plasticell screen printing. They're both going to be cured by a belt dryer like a screen printer would. So from that standpoint, they're all basically the same. The biggest differences you're going to run into have to do with productivity with the machines. All right, so that's where we'll start comparing things. The buttons are pretty much the same on both of the machines because they're pretty much doing the same thing. You have the ability to preheat certain areas of the printer, and we have some pictures here we'll show you of how you set up the preheat for the front section on both of the printers. All right, and we have vacuums that hold the film down on both of the printers. Those are exactly the same. The buttons may be in a different place, but they're pretty much in the exact same buttons. The actual control panels on them are identical. This software that we drive it with, which we're showing you on the screen right here, just a quick screenshot of, exact same thing for both printers. All right, so a lot of things really the same. When it comes down to the differences, we start looking at the things that make the four-head more functional for high productivity over the two-head. And let's not forget, if you look over my shoulders here, there's also a size concern. You have to weigh into that. This machine right here versus this machine right here, you're probably looking at an additional 2.5 to 3 feet of depth behind me, more height, more width. You can get the dryer shaker system to this through a 36-inch opening. This requires about a 44 to 45-inch opening. So this is pretty much a double door type of situation. All things you need to take into account when you're looking at which machine makes the most sense for you. You can expect to get anywhere from 45 to 55 linear feet per hour out of the two-head, the 24H2, which is a lot of transfers, folks. All right, that's usually in the area for full front type of shirts, about 100 an hour. So in an average 8-hour shift, you're going to get 750, 850 shirts. Whereas over here on the forehead, you can run in the area of 140 to 150 linear feet per hour, typically about 145. So literally when you start to do the numbers, you're looking at triple the amount of output out of this. Question for you is, how much output do you need? If you're only going to be running 500 shirts a day, you probably don't need a machine that's going to knock out 500 transfers an hour or an hour and a half, right? So you've got to be realistic when you're weighing in. I know everybody has the inclination that bigger is better, but it may not be. It may not be what you need for your business. If you can run this 3 hours a day and meet all of the demands that you need, you can still grow your business almost triple and still be within your framework of an 8-hour day. So be realistic with yourself about that. And again, like I said, you have the concerns about space. Another thing to take into account is what the power needs are. We've done some great things with a 24H4. We've done a lot of reworking. We've got some patent pending processes to help reduce power consumption, but it still needs a 30 amp 220 circuit to run the whole system. Over here you need a 20 amp 220 to run the belt dryer and a standard 110 20 amp circuit for your printer. So there's that to consider as well. You may already have a 20 amp run into the room where you plan on putting the equipment to a 220 20 amp. This would mean no additional expense for that. Both machines are going to need the same type of ducting to get your exhaust and smoke out, or a same type of extraction unit. So those are going to be the same. So really when you start to weigh things out, it comes down to current needs and your expected needs as you grow your business of how much output you need out of the machine. And of course, we are in business, so we're not going to give you the machines for the same price. So there is a difference in price of the machines of about $10,000, but that's usually not the deciding factor for most people. The deciding factor really is what do they need and what do they have space for. One last thing I would say when I look at the machines, when I use them, the thing that I probably prefer, and this is just personal, but having run both machines, everything on the forehead, the 24-4H, is literally right here. As you can see, it's swinging around. All your control panel is right there. You turn, and all of your buttons are right here of everything you're going to need to manage as you're running the machine. The ink delivery seems exact same. All the things on the back, the same. Film feed, all the same. The other thing that's a huge difference, if you would come over here, Hannah. This system uses an auger system to deliver the powder to the shaker. So what this does is as the powder goes through, it drops down into the machine, into here, and there's a secondary auger that's going to feed the powder this way, and then a third auger that will feed the powder back up to here to where we started from and continually cycles it. Doesn't sound like maybe a big deal, but when you're running the two head, you have to manually load the powder back in from the bottom right down here, where there's a drawer that the powder will drop into, the flapper we just closed right there. Take that powder out, pour it up top here, and then put it back down. Not a big deal, but it is something you have to monitor yourself. So one more thing to worry about is watching how much powder you have left in here. You don't use a bunch of powder on each transfer, but it needs to be recycled. With the forehead, it is continually being recycled. We just did a bunch of prints here today and literally probably used a half a pound of powder, so adding additional powder to the whole mix is not a big deal. But keeping this full and dropping powder is, and this requires manual recycling of it, whereas the system over here recycles it itself. So I think I've covered about all the major differences, the major similarities between the machines. They're both going to give you the same quality prints, same cost of consumables to do the same prints. It's just going to come down to how much space they take up, how much money you invest in the equipment, and how much you need productivity out of the machine, and where you think your business is going to grow to. This is certainly a business that is not going to go away anytime in the near future, and we see a lot of customers already. Some of our earliest customers who adopted the two-head are coming back to us, and believe it or not, we thought they were going to trade up to a four-head, but you know what they're doing? They're actually adding a four-head to their business. So you never know where you're going to grow to. But when it all comes down to it, having one of these or having one of these is just going to really, really free up a lot of time for you. It's going to create a lot of opportunities you maybe did not have before, including wholesale opportunities for transfers to other screen printers and other businesses who haven't jumped on board yet with the DTF process. And it's a great way to be able to make money nowadays. And it's just taken, if you haven't noticed yet, your eyes aren't open, because this is the next trend in the apparel decoration industry, and it's going to be here for a while.